Well, hello, and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Total Spotfest, wrestling podcast. That is Jamie. That is a returning Austin Reddick. I am JJ. Hello. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here live. We appreciate you guys giving us some of your time. If this is your first time here, please hit the like, subscribe button, and share with your friends. Speaking of friends, how are we doing this wonderful evening?
Royals won. I'm great.
I had to bust out the October Blues.
So I got the blue hue.
Now we know we know Austin. You focus on your NBA Denver Nuggets, but being a native, Texan, or mostly native Texan, I know, right? Do you consider yourself an Astros fan?
I do. Right here on my elbow, I got the old school brick red Astros logo.
Elbow's a good spot for that team tattoo. Just saying.
It is a good logo spot. I'll probably put the Nuggets logo on the other elbow. But I have been an Astros fan for quite some time. I watch less baseball than I did, so really, like I said, the Nuggets is the only team I really give a shit about. But I check in on the Astros. And they unfortunately were eliminated from the playoffs today.
Yeah.
It's all right. They've had a good run. They might have to retool a bit, but they've been good for the better part of a decade now.
You could join the Royals. Royals good at taking in fans. I mean, I'm a native Cardinal fan, still a Cardinal fan at heart, right?
Yeah.
But I definitely have gotten into my, the Royals. I got a fucking Royals tattoo for God's sake, after they won the World Series. So, I like Missouri baseball. That's kind of how it is. So
that's fair, and I'm 100% on board with the Royals bandwagon. Like the Astros are out, cool, go Royals. I'm all for that.
What's up, Rob?
So we'd be more than happy to have you, but remember, we don't beat up on trash cans around here.
Well, they don't ask how, they ask how many. And the Astros got 2.
Well said.
Touche on that note.
Let me tell you, they MLB could have dropped the hammer and shut down the franchise, and it still would have been worth the Astros World Series win in 2017. Coming off the heels of the hurricane, it was one of the greatest sports moments of my life. And it was the first time I got to see a team that I supported win a championship, because Houston teams were dog shit for a long time. So yeah, they might have cheated a little bit. Everyone steals signs. They were just a little bit better at it. I'm good with it.
Well, wrestling in a second, guys. I find it totally ironic that we have reached an age in life, or age in the life of sports, let's put it that way, right? Where it does nothing even has any consequences at all anymore. Like post SMU, none of this stuff happens, right? You mean, look at all the stuff that happened with in the early 2000s with Miami, right? Miami doing NIL thing before NIL was real, right? Or everybody did it, but they're the ones who got caught because they were aggressive with it, right? And then NCAA took so long, they're just like, fuck it, whatever, right? KU actually was, I don't know if you know this or not, but the death penalty was actually engineered to go after KU basketball. Because at the time, they were blatant about paying players. And then, of course, the Southwestern Conference said, hold our beers. We're going to show you how to do this, right? And force them to use it. And then they're never going to use it again, right? Houston Astros, you have all that stuff going on, right? Things with USC and their Heisman, bullshit that they had. It's all this stuff comes about. I mean, Michigan won a national championship last year after blatantly stealing video from the other teams. I mean, nothing matters anymore. Honestly, I kind of like it that way because that's what the corporate world is. So fuck it. Let the sports world be like that too. Sports world is emulating wrestling more and more every day is all I'm saying.
I was about to say, sometimes you got to cheat to win a championship. Ric Flair is a 16-time champion for a reason. Not that he's necessarily the moral authority on anything, but still 16-time champion.
Jamie's stewing there with a thought in his head. I can see it.
Yeah.
Oh no. You hit the nail right on the head. Like, you got cheat. My old high school football coach said this to me, and it rang true in high school football and college football. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So,
you played on the line too, so it's like
and middle linebacker. So.
Yeah, every play there was something that they could have called on any one of y'all around there. So
I will say for the Astros specifically, there's not a ton of conspiracy theories I buy into, and I don't even think this is really a conspiracy theory, but it's clear the sign stealing shit was rampant in MLB, and they were like, "Look, you got the trophy. We're not going to take it away. Take the heat on this, and we'll just sweep it all under the rug." Because I guarantee you, they were not the only team doing sophisticated.
The Cardinals actually were even more sophisticated than you guys were. They actually were able to hide it better as well, which is why. Plus, the Cardinals are the darling of Major League Baseball, right?
So they kind of specifically. So Jeff Luhnow left the Cardinals, went to the Astros as the GM. The Cardinals hacked the Astros development system and were spying on like who they were scouting and all that.
Cardinals were brazen, and you think that our long-term prospects would have been better than what they are now. But hey,
not
best fans
going
in
a
baseball.
Long baseball tangent, but who would have guessed the Cardinals would have lost that Nolan Arenado trade? Like it did nothing for them.
Yeah.
And I was living in Denver at the time. Rockies fans were pissed. But
I thought, well, we can get into.
You're not wrong.
You are not wrong. I mean, that should have been. I did not have the Goldschmidt is the better of the two acquisitions when they did the whole Goldschmidt and Arenado offseason, right? Wilson Contreras, that was a swing and a miss. Cardinals have just done some mind-bogglingly weird, dumb things. But we're not talking. We're not talking.
They're the worst team. They're the worst team in Missouri.
They are acquisitions.
Only by a few games, though. They actually did have
a few games.
Terrible. They didn't have a terrible end of the season, but.
But yeah, since we're bringing up acquisitions, I've been watching some old wrestling recently.
Ooh,
and I tuned in.
Back on the retro trend.
Back on the retro train. Tuned in just in time for a major acquisition of sorts.
Oh, let's get some knowledge on that. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna open up my stash of knowledge, and we're gonna talk a little bit of old wrestling before we get into really good new wrestling. So coming off the heels of a few weeks back, rewatching Fall Brawl 1996, it dawned on me that as a younger man, I was much more of a WWF fan, and we would tune into Nitro during commercial breaks. But it really wasn't until like later '98 that I started catching more and more of WCW. So I decided, you know what? I pretty much missed the peak of the NWO angle. The late '96 through a lot of '97 before it started to get a little too stale. So I went back the other day. I figured since I watched Fall Brawl recently, I'm gonna start at Halloween Havoc 1996, and then catch the weeklies and the pay-per-views until I get tired of it or reach like 98-ish, maybe even a little bit into 90. We'll see. It's a big
Nitro and Hogan drops the belt in '98. That's like the end of like phase one, peak NWO.
But it was time to give an honest shot and watch through what was happening in WCW in 1996. And Halloween Havoc 1996 is capped off, which phenomenal pay-per-view. If you haven't seen it, great pay-per-view. But it is capped off with the WCW debut of the Hot Rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper. Which in 1996, they try and make seem a much bigger deal than it should have been. Which kind of leads into why I wanted to bring this up, because I wanted to get y'all's opinion. Is Roddy Piper the most overrated talker of all time?
Ooh.
Overrated talker of all time.
Because I will say, up until about WrestleMania 1, about 85 or so, absolutely Hall of Fame talker. Pretty much everything he did in the 90s was god-awful.
That's a bold statement.
That was a question.
I got a
That wasn't
hot
a
take this
statement.
week.
That was a question for us.
That's the question. I'm interested to see y'all's opinions. Does
Heather's right.
does early Piper make up for the god awful 90s?
Okay. I'll weigh in first. Yes.
Okay.
Because that early Piper is some of the best stuff ever. I mean, led to, some of his most iconic phrases aren't from wrestling, right? Chew bubblegum and kick ass. I'm all out of bubblegum, right? Plus, he was part of that, moment in time around the WrestleMania 1. You had like Macho Man, that was young Hulk Hogan, but you had Macho Man and Roddy Piper, and they were just larger than life characters. He kept it going a lot longer than he should have, which is also not an uncommon trend from wrestlers of that era. And let's be real, he just kind of did the same thing for decades to come, right? So I don't think it diminishes what he was, right? Just because he kept playing an extra 10 years longer than he should have doesn't mean he's not one of the best. So
that was just the 90s. He went for like another decade after that.
I know. Jamie, what are your thoughts?
I politely disagree. Because he did do so damn good in the 80s. Like, Roddy in the 80s was Flair level, honestly. Like, if you think about it. So I can't just say he's overrated because he fell off. Like, everybody falls off.
Good, overrated just as a talker, mind you.
Yeah, talker only. So I have to think about talkers. Who just annoyed me when they talked, who I always thought everybody thought was so great and they're so overrated. And there's one name that comes to my brain instantly. John Bradshaw Layfield. JBL by far is the most overrated talker that there ever was, ever will be. Like, he was amazing in the APA because he didn't hardly have to talk. As soon as he became JBL, like, it just went to hell. And people thought he was such a great talker. He was mid at best.
I will partially agree with that. If you exclude 2004 or whatever period it was with his one title reign, because he peaked hard. That JBL champion run, promos, matches, everything. I would put that as a top all-time heel run, but outside of that, not a good talker at all. And I don't think one peak puts you up there in the all-time list.
Yeah.
But I do got to say, an entire just god-awful decade definitely drops Roddy Piper down for me. And to be fair, you can't be overrated without being highly rated in the first place. So I'm not saying he was a bad talker, because early Piper was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But man, because I not long ago watched 93, I think it was, when he shows up for a feud with Jerry Lawler around King of the Ring. Real bad there too.
Yeah.
The 96 stuff with Goldust, not good. The 90s were a bad time for
and then you get him in WCW and it's beer gut Roddy Piper. Speaking of the man with the beer gut, I'm saying, you could tell it's not the same. And it wasn't even like the Lex Luger first Nitro bring back, right? It's still Lex Luger, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't have the pop. But, Roddy Piper, it's like,
Yeah, so they bring him in at Halloween Havoc 96. And then I'm all the Raws up until World War III and about half through World War III. So I'm like a month into this. Nitros, not Raws, Nitros, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like a month into this, and they have spent every Nitro just hyping up, will Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan sign for the match of the decade, the biggest match ever? And I'm like, it is 1996. People are tired of Hogan. They definitely don't want to see Hogan and Piper on top in 1996. But at the time, you are getting a heavy dose of Jeff Jarrett, which I'm always here for. You are getting the rise of Chris Jericho.
Well, that's young. That's young Jarrett too, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's like young, flowy blonde hair Jarrett.
Yeah, this was like
Oh,
a
that's a
few
good
months after
Jarrett.
he left the WWF. When he's still
Yeah.
wearing the strappy suspender
Yeah,
get
the
up and all
thing with
that.
Yeah,
mhm.
it was before Slap Nuts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, this is still good long haired Jarrett. Not that any Jarrett was bad in my eyes, but I might be a little biased on that end.
Just a
I mean,
little
Slapnuts Jarrett was pretty damn good.
I've enjoyed all of Jarrett. I missed a lot of the TNA stuff, so I don't have to like hate him
Well,
like some people do that were watching at the time. But
eventually, well, fantastic stash, by the way. Eventually, we all know this, that they're going to have, WWE's going to buy TNA eventually. They're going to get that library, right? When they do, go back and watch like the early TNA stuff, right? First year, you can breeze through. I'm going to be straight up with you here. Year one, breeze through. Some really killer matches, but year two, because it's about 7-8 months in, maybe it was a year in, but it's definitely by year two is when they had the six-sided ring. Because the first year they tried to be just a wrestling organization, and they had to be different. So that's where the six-sided ring came out. That's where it started going, and then you had angles of Jarrett that you didn't even knew existed because it was his company, and it was a lot of Jarrett those first couple years. Let me just put it that way, right?
I can't wait to have all that on demand.
I won't spoil any of that with you, but there's one Jarrett which is perplexing which is just still doesn't make any sense. I'll even say it, the Team Canada Jarrett. Makes no sense. But
He's
it was
Mr.
pretty...
Worldwide, like Pitbull.
I don't know what you...
Darling.
You remember that, Jamie, the Team Canada Jarrett?
I mean, unfortunately, yes.
It's like, him?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because he had to be
Speaking
a heel.
of shows
they were
that-
big heels.
Speaking of shows that Jeff Jarrett pops up on, do we want to get into Dynamite?
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh, you got a thing.
I do have a thing, gentlemen. And it's hilarious that your stash actually weaves right into it beautifully.
Perfect.
Which is just like insane. And
right.
ladies and gentlemen, this is not scripted, I promise you, because they legit have no clue what we're talking about here. But it is officially October.
Oh,
so if you have been a fan of this show, you know that one person on this show really, 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 really enjoys October. And it's this guy right here. Last year, we went over like our favorite Halloween movies, by genre last year. So this year, gentlemen, we are going to do at least today, because I actually have another one saved for when we get closer, because I think it's going to be really great. But, gentlemen, speaking of overrated, what, in your opinion, is the most overrated horror movie ever made?
Singular movie? Franchise? What are you talking about?
Yes. You have carte blanche with it. And since we're going horror, I gotta go red.
Jamie found RGB goodness, and he loves it so much.
I do. I really do.
I give him 6 months, and he's gonna be like one of those, like he's gonna be like a Twitch streamer back there, have stuff all over.
It's gonna look like
place.
a rave in his room. It's just gonna be like popping out different colors the whole time.
I love the squares going up and this and this. Okay. All right.
I don't know about a most overrated horror movie because I don't watch a ton of horror movies, and like every time I see one, I'm like, oh, actually no, I got one for you because it's fairly recent, and I saw a lot of people saying it was great. I saw it and would disagree. Longlegs.
I've heard some
you
people
didn't like
say
Longlegs?
that. I've heard some people say that. Yeah, I've heard people say that.
It's not that I didn't like it. Like I saw it and I walked out of the theater and was like, oh, that wasn't bad. I still don't know what the fuck it's about after seeing it like all 90 minutes. I was so confused afterwards, and never once was it like particularly scary. It was just weird.
It hurts. I love that movie because I get it. I got the whole thing. Like, and so here's the thing with that movie. Not that your opinion, because I get what you're saying, because my sister is the exact same way. You have to watch it a second time because then
Yeah.
you'll see the devil everywhere, and then it makes a lot more sense. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, no, I saw that. Like, I saw that on social media. Someone pointed that out, and like, that's cool. I think for me, I don't appreciate horror enough as a genre to appreciate a good horror movie. So I was just like, oh, that was like 90 minutes of somebody's art, and that was worth the $10 I paid to get in. But I didn't think it was particularly good in any sense.
That's fair.
Well, we've reached the point of the show where JJ disappoints Jamie immensely. Which is why he asked this question, I know, because I have a plethora I could throw out there because I'm not a horror movie fan. And I asked the question about franchises because, for what it's worth, I get its place in our society's zeitgeist, right? Especially as a child who grew up during this time. I've watched a couple of them. I don't get the hype for it. And yes, I'm talking about the Nightmare on Elm Street series. I'm sorry. They're just bad movies, Jamie. They're just bad movies.
Oh. I mean, it's not my favorite franchise, so you're okay. But still.
I mean, when I was a kid, that was like the biggest thing because of the guy with the scars in the hand, right? That literally was the only reason that anybody liked it because it was a bad fucking movie.
The first one was a masterpiece. You're crazy.
Eh.
Sure.
I did like Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I think it was called, like the more modern
great.
one they did. I mean, I'm sure they've done several more modern ones since then, but like the first, like, let's reboot this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I did enjoy that, but the earlier ones, I'm with JJ. Take them or leave them. Like, don't.
I mean, it's like, especially when because there's always like the big, Freddy versus Jason, all that stuff, right? When it comes down to it, though, Halloween was amazing, right? The original Halloween was amazing, okay, and I'll put that up there, right? Original Halloween was amazing. I liked the reboot that Rob Zombie did with it, right? Yes, they all this is the 80s. They all did way too many sequels, but in general, Nightmare on Elm Street, kid was molested and went to hell and came back, and there's kids are going to hell, or they're not going to hell. They're being in their dreams, and they're just too much.
The molested thing only came from the remake, and
I don't even remember where.
Freddy Krueger. Like, yeah.
It's,
but anyway,
You know what? The more I think about it, the even harder I agree with JJ. Here's my problem with Nightmare on Elm Street. If this weird scissor hand demon guy is gonna come chase me in my dreams, that ain't reality. That's a dream. I'm beating his ass in my dreams. I'm like
that's Dream Warriors, man. That's the third one.
I'm kicking ass.
but he is powered by dream demons, man. Like, that's the thing.
That's my answer. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Hey, just like wrestling, it doesn't have to make sense, guys.
You're not wrong. All right, Jamie. All right, Mr. Horror Movie Fanatic. Overrated. What you got?
This one will 100% ruffle feathers. And I'm okay with that because I am a cinephile and I have certain tastes in scary movies. And the one that I feel is the most overrated by far and away is The Exorcist. Fight me on it. I know what it did for all of horror movies and movies in general. Like what it created for us. And I'm super appreciative of it. It is my Hulk Hogan of horror movies.
It's your Beatles of horror movies.
I'm going to go more Hulk Hogan.
Okay, all right.
Because it does have some good things that happened in it, but overall, it's just, yeah.
I enjoyed the first Exorcist movie, and I haven't watched a ton of horror movies. It's kind of wild though, like talking about what it did for horror and how long ago that first one came out, and then just this year they had a new one with Russell Crowe that was co-branded with WrestleMania or something like that. Like, what a weird time to be alive.
What a world. I honestly can't really think. Like, it's been a while. I've only seen it like maybe twice, right? And it's been a while. I don't even remember much of it, other than like the head spin and the pea soup, right?
Not even the crucifix ovation.
Okay.
That's kind of a big deal. The
Yeah.
pissing on the floor. Like, there's all sorts of good stuff in this thing.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
it. It's
Like,
been a
it's
while.
good. It's just like, it's just one of those things. Like,
Okay.
I really appreciate what it did, but I am like, it's like everybody's like, it's the greatest of all time. Like, I can give you 17 higher than it easily.
Yeah, me and my sister and I had this conversation when we were coming back from visiting my aunt and uncle recently, and because she's a big cinephile, not in the horror genre, but everything else, she's up there with you, Jamie, and she's even said about that, but we were talking about some movies, this and that, and she said, well, that's the thing, I was like, I've never seen Casablanca, and some of my movie friends think I'm nuts, right? So I think that there is a bit of rose tinted glasses with some of these things, right?
I've also never seen Casablanca. Probably never
Good.
will.
It's really good, actually.
It's not.
I'm sure it is.
It's
but-
one of those that you can say you've seen it, right? I don't think it's like everybody. I don't think it's like the greatest movie ever made or anything like that, but it's definitely one that I'm happy I have seen, right?
That's fair. But I also could watch Muppet Treasure Island for like the 18th time, and that sounds like a better time to me than watching Casablanca. But I am a man of culture and taste. So like, here's my review. That's if they would put some Muppets in Casablanca, I would probably watch it.
You mentioned that. I think that there was a Muppet Casablanca at some point.
Now you're speaking my language.
I
wish.
I don't know
since
why,
all
but
they
it
do
just
is-
makes me think that it did happen. I swear it.
the fact that all they do now in Hollywood is remakes and reboots and stuff. Can we get more just older properties with Muppets instead? Like that's always a home run.
What was that movie that came out a few years back that was like that Muppet murder?
That movie's messed up.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like
Happy
really
Time Murders or something like that.
Yeah, the Happy Time Murders. I never saw that.
It was good.
Okay,
I enjoyed that.
I'll have to check that out.
Muppets Go to the Movies has a scene from Casablanca in it.
There we go. Okay, I knew there was something related to like Muppets that they did at some point. So thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Google.
Jamie the cinephile. Google, right? Yeah, hey, no. Okay. Well, I didn't feel like I worry there's another shoe to drop here because this wasn't too bad for Jamie's usual October requirements.
It's week 1, dude.
He's giving us a layup to get into it, right?
It's week 1.
Oh, you're doing the voice activated now.
I'm doing the voice act.
Well, okay. Since you're pulling out all the pyro tricks, let's talk about some other big tricks that happened because it is an anniversary night, Jamie.
It is 5 years, gentlemen.
Not us.
5 glorious years that we have got to see AEW on Wednesday nights on TBS or TNT.
And we're going to see it for many more years to come. I meant to talk about this before we got into it. Let's talk about the contract.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
So, we all knew it was coming. Balls at the 1 yard line. This is the final minute. Right, all these sports metaphors you want to throw out there, right? But the contract was close. It was there. It's done. It's done and it's announced for the most part. There's still some details, a little bit here and there that are missing. A couple specifically monetary numbers that are still not necessarily ironclad to the public's knowledge, but from what I understand, it's $185 million a year for Dynamite and Collision, right now, just those two named, to remain on the Turner on TBS and TNT, okay? In addition to that, those shows will be streamed on the streaming service known as Max. And guess what also will be on Max next year? A catalog of AEW library to behold whenever you like.
And discount pay-per-views are coming.
I was getting to it too. And the other bit was the pay-per-views. The pay-per-views will be available on Max. It didn't say exclusively, so my we got the great news last week. We didn't talk about this, Jamie and I didn't. We got the great news last week that Bleacher Report is no longer going to be doing wrestling pay-per-views. Thank you, Jesus.
Okay.
It's an October miracle. So we don't know what that entails in the future. My speculation is that they're going to continue with the multi-stranded thing they're doing, because why would you not try every revenue you could get, right? But there would be discounted pay-per-views coming up, and it just said in 2025 through Max as well. And I'm all for it. I would rather have like WWE does, where you get them free on Peacock if you're a subscriber at a different, whatever. That might be a thing in the future too. You pay an extra $5 a month and you get all the pay-per-view. Who knows, right? But we're finally getting the streaming service, but they're still remaining on TV as they are right now, and they're getting a lot of money, and they're going to blow past WCW's run as a televised network TV show. There we go.
I mean, are you sure though? Because I was informed that they were dying. Nerds on the internet have been saying that they're going out of business. And this doesn't sound like the behavior of a company that's going out of business. I'm just saying something doesn't add up here.
I didn't dig deep into it. I just saw like the announcement threads, this and that, read the details, but I'm sure there are fanboys and nerds bitching and moaning and others pointing fingers at them laughing, whatever.
At the end of the day, gentlemen, it's about the fact that wrestling is got, just like the earth, man, different strokes for different folks. We enjoy kick-ass matches, and AEW provides it. And they definitely provided it today a lot. It was a long-ass show.
Oh.
That's why we went on like almost an hour late. But, I'm looking forward to it. There's also talks that we're going to have another announcement about their stuff going on Fox. So Rampage is going to be going away, from my understanding, and then they're going to have that Fox Shockwave. It's probably going to be on FS1 or something like that. So that would be coming. So looking forward to those things. And
there's potential too for other Max related content, similar to what WWE did with the WWE Network sort of thing. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, not even like in ring stuff either too, right? They've dabbled in, they had like the whole like Cody Rhodes thing, poorly timed, but the whole Cody Rhodes Life of TV show. Yeah. But the backstage, and they talked about doing other things like that as well. The door is open for that now and I just want to see it on Max. Just put it on Max so that, please.
I would love to see them just put Ring of Honor on Fox. Like, if you're going to keep doing it as a show, make it an actual show.
Yeah. I'm for that.
Then I'd record it and watch it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to pay for the Honor Club. Just not going to do it.
My wife pays for Honor Club, and I still don't watch it because it doesn't seem important. And like, a lot of talented folks having good matches there. So like, I don't mean to speak ill of ROH. Like, people are getting work, and I've heard like good matches on there. I like most of the talent they have. Mm-hmm. They just don't make it seem important. And I only got so many hours a week to watch wrestling, and between 1996 WCW and modern AEW, then you got time for Ring of Honor. But like, put it on Fox, you got my interest.
Well,
you heard it here first, folks. Do it.
Do it.
All right. Well, speaking of doing it, let's talk about the Dynamite, gentlemen.
Ooh.
Oh. Where do we start? Because the start was insane. The ending was insane.
I think we start by thanking Tony Khan. Because, like,
yeah,
that was great.
He's done it again, and he's built some new stories.
Finally. Stories and good groundwork for some very interesting things, I will say that. Let's start at the top. Let's just go straight through it, Jamie, because how...
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were going to. Okay. I thought you were going to.
Oh, no, I thought you were talking.
Okay. You know, they had a little BCC promo, which we can talk about as it ties into something later on. But starting off with Ricochet Ospreay. Ooh.
I figured this was the match you were expecting, and this is the ending I was expecting as well. I think I called it last week.
I think you did. I'm pretty sure you did, you know.
Even with Takeshita, even.
I love everything they're doing with this. My only complaint is that just it wasn't longer. And we even had a false finish and a restart in there. And there's really not much you can say other than just, yeah, it was Ricochet and Ospreay for free on your TV. Yes, it was that good. Oh.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I love the false finish and restart. Like every once in a while they mix in some just like good old classic pro wrestling tropes and it works. And something like that, like the crowd was like when you get them audibly booing on the false finish, like you know you did it right. Love that in the restart. I did not care for the finish of the match itself.
Okay.
I get why you had to do it. Like you're saying that you can run this back later. You don't necessarily want to have either of those guys eat a loss right now. That's fine. My only problem is that people want to like Takeshita, and I feel like they weren't really sure how to react. Like they didn't really want to boo him. And he got some asshole chants, so that helped a bit. But like, I don't feel like this really got Takeshita heat just because people want to like Takeshita.
I think got him some heat.
Little bit, but not as much as you would want from something like that.
You think it would have resonated more if it was actually like Don Callis out there, like costing him the match?
I think it would have resonated more if he would have come out and just beat up one of them, and it would have been a little bit more vicious. But him just kind of coming out, hitting a thing on both guys, and then just staying with the title, it didn't seem like enough to break up a match that good. And when you have something that good, people want to see a finish, or they need a real big reason why they didn't get the finish. And that was just kind of your run-of-the-mill, run in and just beat people up kind of thing.
Well, I think at the end of the day, the worst part about that part of the angle is that the person who loses on that is Ricochet, right? Because you're telegraphing that, yes, you're going to continue. And we all know this, right? The storyline is Ospreay going in Takeshita, right? You know, we get it, right? So Ricochet is the odd man out. Now, does that mean that they ran this match too early? Who knows, right? You can argue, you can fight whatever, you know? I don't care because I would love, now this is going to happen, and I know this, but I would love like an old school 3-man kind of just round robin it around them, right? Have this title, have these 3 men just battle the piss out of each other back and forth for the next like 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I love where they're going with all this. Just the actual execution of the finish itself just seemed like a bit of a letdown on a match that good. But like, yeah, everything else, I'm fully on board with.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate just because I want to.
Just because I want to.
I personally believe
In a thing called love?
I do. From heaven and above. This match happened too soon. By like a month. And I think it would have been a better match if there was no title involved. So then, like, you know, there's no true stakes. So then something like this could have happened and it would have been better. Now, with the whole Takeshita thing, I do agree that he's too over. Like, people love him, and having him be the bad guy just doesn't make sense, right? So, I'm thinking that they are not going to have those two go one-on-one at WrestleDream. Oh, no. It will be a tag match of Ricochet and Ospreay versus Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher.
Yep. That seems more likely. I like that idea better.
I like the storytelling of that. Like, that's already an interesting match. just because of the combination of guys.
And I don't think that people want to like Takeshita. Correct. We love Takeshita, right? I don't think that having him as a heel, though, is a problem for him or for people's perception of him, though, to be honest. Like, heel Takeshita is fine.
Yeah, I don't think it's the idea of him being a heel. I just, like, he's got to be more vicious as a heel.
Yeah.
He can't just be Takeshita doing bad things.
Right. You make him be the physical embodiment of Don Callis.
Yes.
That's what you need. And they tease it, right? Angry looking Takeshita, you know? No, have him be that cunning Callis man.
I don't disagree. I think he's got the opportunity, but the way that he's been built, people just love him too damn much. Like they gotta do something. Like maybe next Wednesday they just have Takeshita just absolutely murder Ospreay like in a match, like handcuff him, like chair shot him, make him bleed, whatever. Like make it. Where is it? Okay, we believe he's a heel now, you know, or he has some plants in the audience. He sucks. Maybe enough.
They could have done that tonight. And here's what they should have done instead. Takeshita should have come out and bloodied them both up with the screwdriver. Because then you tie that Don Callis part back into it, and it's vicious enough that he actually looks like a heel. I think that would have been a better execution. Either way, like any combination of these three guys, keep it running. I'm cool with it. But yeah, I just want to see a little bit more aggression out of Takeshita if he's going to be a heel.
Well, it didn't come to a finish, so we're going to get more Ricochet and Ospreay down the road eventually anyway, so that's good. Like we weren't anyway. We knew it was going to happen.
So, gentlemen, did I miss it, or did MVP officially announce the name of his faction?
It feels like he did, sort of, ish.
Yeah, because everybody like on the Twitters has gone nuts with Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah, he didn't say it on the TV show. Mercedes had the promo after this match, and he comes in, gives her card. Hey, somebody called that last week. You know. And he talks about Big Business, which was the name of Mercedes' like the show where she debuted, right? But I don't know. I don't know where it came from, but apparently it's been put out there.
I could be mistaken on this. I want to say I saw something on Twitter a couple weeks ago about him trademarking Hurt Syndicate.
Is that what? Okay. I
think it was one of the things that like leaked out on the internet and caught on a bit.
Do you like it, Jamie?
I don't mind it. I just liked just the business, like giving him the business. I thought that, I don't know. I like the simplicity of the business. This is a business decision. Like you could have just ran with it. But Hurt Syndicate sounds really cool, actually. Like I don't want it. Yeah.
It does sound good. I think either way, because you're playing off of the Hurt business, no matter what you do. Unless you come up with some a completely different name and, kind of way around that, it's going to be a copycat in one direction or another. Hurt Syndicate, I'll take it. I like it.
And we'll put a pin in the Hurt Syndicate because we will see them later. But before that, poor Austin. That chair shot looked like it hurt.
Austin can sell like hell though. God, I love him. I love him so much, man.
And Colt's coming around too. Like, don't get me wrong, but
Dude, the Guns might be the best AEW homegrown talent there is. Because they were terrible when they first started showing up on Dark and Elevation. And they are as competent as you could need anyone to be in a professional wrestling setting now.
I love the Guns. I think we've been on the Guns. Basically, the moment they came out to Many Men was the moment I knew that they arrived. And like, okay, I can take these guys
turned
kind
on
of
their dad.
seriously. Yeah.
Like once they turned on their dad and went on their own, they have just been killing it.
He needs to come home. Anyway, so poor Guns got the shit kicked out of him by one crazy lunatic known as Adam Hangman Page. So they will not be able to help in the match against Juice Robinson for Hanger. After that, though, it's learning tree time, guys.
Get that TV time.
That TV time. Talk about how 5 years ago he's been there since day one, and now he's growing young talent like the Redwood and the Bad Apple, and making sure he has all his TV time, which I thought was great. But then he wants to become not the Ocho anymore, gentlemen. The Nueve.
Nueve.
He challenged none other than Mark Briscoe for the Ring of Honor World Championship. And then Briscoe, of course, comes down, responds, and then things got a little extra personal. I mean, at least in my opinion, when he brought up his dead brother Jay and say that he is never going to be as good as his brother. And then next thing you know, Mark punches him right in the mouth.
I mean, you open up the book of how to heal professional wrestle, and he just checked every box. He called it Philadelphia, not Pittsburgh. I mean, he did all like the.
So good.
I love it too because he catches himself after saying Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You know, calling out the dude's dead brother. Just classic stuff, done very well.
This was low-key an episode of like classic pro wrestling tropes executed well.
Yeah.
It was a theme throughout the night. And I love this segment.
What do you think about the match? What do you think about Briscoe Jericho? Because that's going to be on WrestleDream. I'm for it. I mean, you're going to get a Jericho match no matter what. I'd rather.
Yes, please.
And they're continuing this whole conglomeration versus the learning tree, whatever, you know? So cool. Give me something different than Orange Cassidy every fucking time.
Yeah. Like I'm into the Jericho versus Briscoe match. I think they're good opponents for each other for like just an entertaining match if you're gonna throw Chris Jericho on the card. Really quick though, like speaking of wrestling tropes, just good classic pro wrestling stuff, we kind of glossed over it, but I do got to give props to Mercedes' bit about I put together a video package of some of Dynamite's greatest moments for 5-year anniversary. It was just her like a 6 months run there. Great, just classic heel shit right there.
I have good hope. I still have hope for Mercedes.
She's been doing her best work as a heel though. Like ever since she like committed to the bit.
Well, we talked about a while back. She just needs to start wrestling like a heel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that's what's missing from the whole presentation.
It's the exact same thing with Takeshita. It's the same argument you're making here with this. Exact same argument, right? And it's more or less follow through. That's the name of the game with a lot of their stuff. They got all the pieces. They just got to follow through with it right.
Yeah, well said. So after that, gentlemen, we had, Mark Briscoe obviously accepted and all that good stuff. Then the Darby Allin thing. Dumb?
Yeah.
Or is it just me?
It for dumb in general, but business wise, yeah, you're gonna have Darby Allin wrestle in his home state, sure, right? You're gonna put him on your TV show because it's Darby Allin. He sells 1 million shirts, so okay, cool. Open challenge for WrestleDream. Who cares?
I mean, they are a t-shirt company.
It was fine. It seemed a little out of place for some reason, and it like. You just had him wrestle Mox last week for the shot at it, and it kind of seemed like he was just moving right along to like just go to an open challenge after that.
Well, he's a true loner in a company full of everybody's aligned in some way with other people. And everybody has inroads, and even Hanger, who's his own stuff. He's still got his own storylines with the Elite and with, the Swerve. Who is there for Darby? Good, to fight or to bond with. Who's there for Darby in this company?
I mean, Sting shows up once a year now.
Once a year, but yeah, you've got a loner in a company full of not loner people. You got to find a better way to go about that, right? And you can't just you can't magically recreate that lightning bottle of Sting in the late 90s, right?
Yeah.
That had a purpose for why he was a loner. This is just Darby. Darby lost a lot. He's by himself.
I think that's the problem with Darby. Is like Darby never really. I mean, outside of the Sting run, which was good, and it was a good thing for him to do. It just seems like outside of that, like Darby just has like little short spurts where he feuds with somebody, and then it's just kind of on to the next thing, and you don't get like a consistent story with Darby like you do with so many other talent on the roster.
Yeah.
What do you do with Darby, Jamie?
Get rid of him? No, seriously. I'm not, I hate to say it, I'm not the biggest Darby Allin fan. I think we all know this on the show. I think he is the face of the youth of AEW, and I think they will eventually lean into it and give him a title run. It probably will be in 2025, which I'm not for, but whatevs. I think you just keep him hovering around the main event with some of the other main eventers that are needing something to do. So let's just think about who are the main eventers who don't have anything right now.
I've got the answer for Darby Allin. I know what you do with it, right? Now, I've actually pulled this angle out at a few times, talking about a few other people. One of them has been on a maternity leave. Hey, Ruby. But yeah, it's the same sort of idea I sprung like when Ruby first came into AEW, right? This is what I like to see. This is what you do with him. Because what is Darby Allin? He's that angsty emo youth, right? Play into that. Fuck everybody, right? I'm doing all this stuff and I'm getting nowhere, but this is my life. I care about it. So fuck everybody. And he is just he becomes your angst-filled My Chemical Romance, finger in the face, anti-authority, do whatever it takes in a good way, right? Not in a dirty heel way, but do whatever it takes to win, because he cares that much, right? But it's him against the world, and everyone else can go hell, right? Have him go on that just like tornado ripsaw of a personality bender, Nobody on this roster gets me, so I don't care about anybody on this roster. I only care about I'm doing it for me and the fans. That's all I'm doing it for, right? That's the angle you go with him, right? Because then bouncing him around makes sense because he doesn't need to be in a feud. He's feuding with everybody, right? Out of self-loathing or whatever it could be is the reason. Doesn't matter. He's feuding with everybody because fuck everybody, right? That's what you do with him, I think.
I don't mind that. I have an alternative suggestion. Just like you suggested that something that you've suggested before. I'm going to throw out something I suggested before. Put him with Stokely Hathaway.
Stokely was busy watching a different person, which made me really happy.
I don't think that would actually be good TV. I just think it'd be funny for a while. Stokely and Darby hanging out together.
Complete odd couples are fantastic.
I do got to play devil's advocate to something Jamie said. Jamie is not in on a Darby Allin title run in 2025. And while I personally, Darby Allin is not for me, I understand who he is for. And I think Darby getting a run with the title is probably good business for AEW.
I think it's really good.
It is good business. I just don't have to like it. You're not wrong on being good.
Should we wildly speculate on who's going to answer his open challenge at WrestleDream?
Yeah, sure. That's kind of what we do here.
I mean,
Welcome to Fantasy Booking Ireland. Austin, who is he going to face at WrestleDream?
I don't know if the timeline for him coming back is there yet, but I'm gonna say MJF. Open challenge is a good time to just throw MJF out there for a night, even if he's away filming a movie or something. Which, as y'all might have seen on the internet, MJF is gonna be in Happy Gilmore too.
Yep.
I don't know when
as
that's
one
shooting,
of Happy's sons. I'm like, he should have been one of Shooter's sons, but whatever. Like, that would have made way more sense.
Way more. Unless they do the whole Karate Kid thing where his sons are now the assholes, right? You know, this flip flop. You know.
Yeah. That's difficult to figure out. Like, who's hovering around the main event who isn't busy?
Swerve.
Well, I bet.
There's talk that Swerve is going to be ready-ish, close to that, right? He's been working out. He's been putting videos online. He's been working out and stuff.
I mean, it's in Washington. I think you're probably going to have Swerve on that card.
That's why I say that's maybe a good, you know.
Well, you're gonna have two Washington boys go at it, and you're gonna have to have one of them lose.
But I think Swerve's going to be in a different match.
Same.
We'll get to that. I'm sure you're probably thinking the same thing I am, but we'll get to that later in the show.
I personally think it's either going to be Claudio, somebody within that, bubble, pack, something like that. Because I feel like he's not done with that whole thing. Especially since Wheeler Yuta is going to be joining them next week. Calling that right now.
Sure seemed like it, but we'll put a pin in that till later.
Sure as shit did.
I do have a wild card for
Jamie
Darby's
had another one. You had an or. What was your or, Jamie?
My or is not that fun.
Doesn't have to be fun.
No, I know, but it's pretty simple. Bobby Lashley.
I would be down to watch Bobby Lashley and Darby Allin.
I mean, I'm always in on seeing a typical Darby Allin match when it comes to that.
Throw yours out, JJ, and then I got one more.
I did throw mine out, but I'll add another one to it there. It goes on the same track. Shelton Benjamin. And I'll put a pin in that. What do you have one more for?
I would also throw out Powerhouse Hobbs.
Okay.
He's supposed to be returning soon, and have him come back and beat Darby Allin in Washington.
So we're leaning heavily on the large black man destroys Darby Allin angle.
It kind of sounds like it. To be fair, I said MJF first, which is about as far away.
We do have an
from
MJF in there, and Swerve is at large. So okay, all right, touche.
So good. So after this, you had the massacre of Juice Robinson. And I was so worried that they were just gonna bury Juice in this match. I was so worried, especially how they set it up.
Right.
And honestly, thank you for making Juice still look competent. And Juice was great. And he got to throw out this happy 5-year anniversary, bitch. Like, that was my favorite.
I love everything before the bell was just glorious to me, right? The way it was done.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and here's the great thing, Austin. When you especially look at the show as a whole tonight, right? They did a little bit of everything that they've been doing for 5 years. I had good little nods to a bunch of that, right? This is another one with the stuff in the crowd, right? It's kind of a staple of AEW almost, right? So it was done fantastic. We have been singing the praises of Juice Robinson back to his New Japan days, the FinJuice days, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great. I thought it was great.
Yeah, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier. It was like a theme of the night with just some classic old pro wrestling tropes, just executed really well. this is another one of them. The brawl around forever before the bell, then get it in the ring. This was great. I think kind of to what you were saying as a whole, they did a good job not only making this a celebration of 5 years of Dynamite, but also setting themselves up for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like if you're just tuning in now, like you've never seen AEW before, this was a great episode of here's everything you get from AEW. And I'm glad that includes Juice Robinson because I love Juice Robinson.
Well, not just Juice though.
Not just Juice.
Not just Juice, because Hangman was trying to strangle somebody yet again with a belt. Or some kind of device and hang him over the edge of the ring. But here comes a returning Jay White. All 39 and a half abs of Jay White have returned. Glory be. He is back.
Bang Bang Gang's now face?
I mean, let's make it happen. They were face earlier when they were the Bang Bang Scissor Gang.
Well, yeah, they started feuding with Christian back around All In, All Out time.
Yeah.
Or the Patriarchy a little bit. So, yeah, I'm down for them as faces.
I'm in for it. I love everything about Bullet Club Gold, right? The guns, Juice Robinson, we all know, and of course Jay White needs to be on that. I think this is fantastic too from the angle that you look at it. A lot of people say, Juice is like, this is a guy, well, he's been injured, right? So now he's no longer injured. Cool. Put him right back in with Hangman, right in the middle of the mix. I love it. No more messing around trios title bullshit, all this stuff. Put him back where he needs to be. Because in the next few months here, you're going to have a spot for him to slide into that, which you want him to be prepped for.
Yeah, and we're probably getting Jay White and Hanger at WrestleDream, which definitely.
Yes. Unfortunately, they're going to have Hanger win that, but
I don't know. I don't know if he necessarily has to win.
I don't think Hanger has to win anything, especially with the way that they built his character.
Or unpin what I was thinking about one Swerve Strickland.
He comes out and costs Hanger, and yeah.
I look really.
I think Swerve's doing something else at WrestleDream.
Oh, you do you?
I do. We put a pin in it, but JJ did mention a little bit ago. I think we're getting Swerve versus Shelton Benjamin at WrestleDream. Which, yes.
Where do I sign?
Yeah, like you got the little nod to it. We'll just kind of jump into the pre-tape or the backstage segment.
Yeah,
you got the little nod to it with MVP and Nana, and then them introducing Shelton. I think that's building to Swerve and Shelton at WrestleDream.
Introduce his business partner, who gets a big pop. Good for Shelton. Okay,
that's great.
Shelton's one of those guys that forever I've been like, just let's get him in AEW for a little while. To get that run he hasn't really had that he's deserved. He's been a top tier pro wrestler for 2 decades.
And he's held a lot of stuff. I mean, he's held Intercontinental title multiple times, tag titles, right? But he's always just kind of been that other guy, right? He's just like, he's just the guy that's around.
It would be nice for Shelton Benjamin to become the guy for a hot minute, because if there are a few wrestlers out there that deserve their flowers, like him, Sami Zayn, just to think of just a couple off the cuff. Jeff Jarrett. But there are certain ones that just deserve it, and some of them have never had the flowers. Sammy, I think, is going to get his flowers shortly. He has been IC title champion, stuff like that. And I think it's time for a solid Shelton Benjamin run. Get him a couple titles, something. Like let's celebrate the gloriousness that is Shelton Benjamin.
If Lashley is shortly there to come as well, does that take away from Benjamin getting that opportunity? Because I think when you look at it, Lashley is the obvious choice to put on the top of your card when you're looking at that faction. Not saying that Shelton doesn't deserve it as much as Lashley, but Lashley has been the top guy in multiple promotions for many years.
Outside of Ragdoll and Darby around, I'm very less interested in Bobby Lashley in AEW, and I like Bobby Lashley. Shelton Benjamin's one of those guys that can still go and put on that kind of match with a lot of the talent on this roster.
So
I think Lashley is better suited for a WWE TNA style show. And like I said, I love Bobby Lashley, but I don't know if I like him as much in AEW.
Do you think it would work if they did because Shelton was introduced first. He's introduced as the business partner. They're courting Swerve to do whatever, right? Last week, Jamie and I threw a bunch of names out there too, people we wanted to see, right? What do you think of, guys? If they go down that angle, take what Jamie said where Shelton Benjamin, first one introduced, he's the business partner of MVP. He's your top guy. Here comes Bobby Lashley. He's the muscle. Do you think that could work? Because it's basically a role reversal from what they did on the Hurt Business.
I don't think the role reversal works because we know who Bobby Lashley is. Like, he's got that
and
former world champion.
Exactly.
In
he's not Wardlow.
He is no Wardlow, but who is?
And I think that's the problem with, and as much as I love Shelton Benjamin, unfortunately, everybody knows what he's done or not done. And therein lies the problem.
Yeah, but Shelton Benjamin is for the sickos. Like, there is a very certain segment of the AEW audience.
You're not wrong.
Me included, that is like, oh shit, Shelton Benjamin AEW, this is about to slap. That's not everybody, but that's the people Tony Khan caters to. They know what Shelton Benjamin showing up in AEW means. But your other fans that are more just pro wrestling fans, not to get into like what is or isn't a pro wrestling fan, but you've got another segment of your audience that like, oh yeah, Bobby Lashley, he was a WWE champion, he was a TNA champion, like that's the guy. That's part of the reason why like I don't think Bobby Lashley fits in as well with the style in AEW, especially among the top guys. And you can't bring him in and not have him be a top guy because it's Bobby Lashley.
Okay, well said.
I dig it. So after this, yet another little promo piece.
A lot of promos.
Jack Perry rolls up, and he is greeted by none other than the wrestler Katsuyori Shibata, and challenges him for a match at WrestleDream. And then Perry just walks off, and next thing you know, he attacks him and accepts.
Okay, sure.
And then you had Britt Baker versus Serena Deeb.
Remember what I said about AEW paying homage to their history? Unfortunately, that history also included underwhelming women's matches. I mean, Serena tried, but I don't know. Britt just, her brain's not in it. Her body's not in it. She just doesn't look right out there, y'all.
I didn't even think this was bad. Like,
It wasn't.
it was fine.
It wasn't terrible, but
I think the problem is, like, granted, Britt Baker's always gonna get the entrance pop. Like, people love doing the DMD and all that.
right. She's in Pittsburgh, so she gets the hometown love. She had the terrible towel flag.
But beyond that, you've got two women that your audience largely doesn't care about outside of Britt's entrance. And that really, I think that took away from this match more than the actual in-ring stuff. Because, like, the in-ring on the match was fine. And there was some stuff that was pretty cool. Like, it wasn't as bad as we've seen at times. But, like, what was the reason to give a shit?
I mean, Mariah May was at ringside.
Yeah, I guess they're pushing to have Britt versus Mariah, which
But they're also pushing Mariah and Willow at the same time.
I'd much rather have that.
Well, and they did a promo later on, which is so much better, you know? And I think therein lies what you're saying, Austin, because you look at this, and we've had a lot of criticism, deservedly so, over the years. We also had a lot of praise recently for some of the stuff that they've been doing with it, right? But when you're on your 5-year anniversary show, you put Britt out there because she's been a staple of the company, and that's literally the only reason, right? This match had no reason to happen. You have Queen Aminata come out because she's to save her after it because she's in a feud with Serena. But again, that's from another show entirely. That didn't really go over.
You know what they should have done instead? They should have done Britt and Statlander.
Britt and Stat would have been great.
That would have been fine.
You have Statlander who's established as a heel. You've got another Statlander who is an AEW original. And then you can get Statlander a ton of heat by beating Britt Baker in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm just over how they don't let her lose in Pittsburgh. That just drives me nuts. And I know the only reason she wrestled on the show was because it's in Pittsburgh, but I mean, it's okay. Totally okay.
Yeah. And again, I get the point of booking her in her hometown. Pittsburgh's going to go crazy for her. She's an AEW original. It's your 5-year Dynamite. But again, throw an actual heel on the other side of the match because no one cares about Serena Deeb. And I largely enjoy Serena's in-ring work, but character-wise, no one's ever cared about Serena.
It'd been better to open Rampage with her, right?
Yeah.
Because you're still in Pittsburgh. It's the same night. They tape it immediately after Dynamite, right? You get the crowd to stick around for Rampage, at least the beginning of it, and you can, on your main show, you can tell stories that you're trying to do instead of just wedging this in here because, it's Pittsburgh. We got to put Britt on TV.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Shame, Tony. Shame. That's your one shame for the evening.
Either that or just do a title eliminator and have Britt versus Mariah May.
I mean, if you're going to put Britt on TV, yes, put her on something. This whole match, I never understood it. From the time they announced it, I go, Serena Deeb. And I'm like, why?
Well, and here's the thing. I think Serena Deeb was a good partner for Britt because she is not as fast as a Mercedes and some of these others. So the match was the least pleasing to the eye. The value of the match, there wasn't one. This was 100% a fan service to the city of Pittsburgh. Let's just move on. Hopefully we get Willow and Mariah at WrestleDream, and then that gets interrupted by Mina and Tony, who are having literally the time of their life.
Oh my God.
Over in Stardom.
Any social media you follow that involves either one of them, they are just dude, Stardom's got shit going down, man. Thecla's thing going on there again for the Essence of Stardom Championship or whatever the fuck it's called. I can never remember
the white belt.
Thank you, because their titles are crazy long. But yeah, Tony's having the time of her life over there, and they're just doing fantastic stuff. Fantastic.
You see the interview where she talked about having a 3-month love affair with Stan Hansen?
Yes.
Yes.
That shit popped me so hard. I watched the whole thing, and I'm like, oh my God, Tony. Where do you come up with this?
She goes to another promotion halfway around the world to continue on, and is doubling down on her gimmick.
Did he give me a lariat, but not with his arm? It's oh my God, Tony.
I would like to remind everyone that leading up to All In, I called it and said after All In, Toni Storm just needs to go away for a little while. And when she comes back, it's going to be huge. She didn't have to stop wrestling, but this is perfect. So we're just freshen her up a little bit, come back in a few months.
We're going to see her in February because that's when they're doing the Grand Slam in Melbourne, And I already know what's going to happen. She's going to come in at the beginning, middle, or end of whatever, some point of the show, right? Doesn't even matter if it's during the women's match or not. But she's going to stumble in like she's lost and just kind of refound her way back into like actual traveling AEW once again.
R-Truth.
100%, yes.
I really hope in my heart of hearts, though, when she comes back, she does get a match against Wendy Richter. That's all I want. I just want one match against Wendy
booking
Richter.
of the century, please. Let's do it.
Wendy Richter.
I got so many promos left still. Oh, Jesus.
All right. So after that, they had the whole Hook segment because we forgot to mention Taz got attacked by somebody and couldn't be there and is going back to New York. So whoever beat up his family, you better watch out for Hook.
He was so mad.
Don't care who it is.
Sure.
Yeah, against the thing. It's like, bro, come on, man. Sorry, I can't. I can't with Hook. I can't.
You know what they should do with Hook? You know what would save the Hook character?
Send him to Florida.
Make him a pirate.
Make him a pirate.
Hook. Just make him a pirate. I'm immediately back in on Hook if you make him a pirate.
What was it? Paul Churchill? Yeah, just make him Paul Churchill or whatever.
Paul Burchill? Yeah.
Yeah, Burchill.
Like,
He'd make you.
You could, because he was kind of like loosely associated with conglomeration. All those dudes could be pirates. Just give me a pirate faction.
And not
Mark Briscoe could definitely be a pirate.
And we're not talking like Pirates of the Caribbean. We're talking like Pirates of Penzance, you know.
Yeah.
I want white blouse, red sash, black and white, pantaloons. Let's go.
Whenever they bring Blood and Guts or Anarchy in the Arena back, give me Team Conglomeration as pirates with Captain Hook.
Like really
Captain
over the top
Hook.
pirates.
There's always room for silly in pro wrestling.
Always. After that, we already talked about the Mariah May Willow. Just give us that, please. Please. Private Party going against Iron Savages. That was a squash match. Poor thing, because I do like the Iron Savages. I love what they're doing. But Private Party looked good. And then they call out the World Tag Team Champions since it's the 5-year anniversary, and they did play up the fact that they did beat him on the second episode, which was like a big to-do because everybody and their mother did not expect that to happen. Saying that they could beat him again, and then he called him Matt and Nick. I thought that was hilarious, and they got all pissed off. Like, it's Matthew and Nicholas. So good. And they get jumped by the entire Elite.
Yeah, and they're gonna have a 6-man on Rampage, and then they're gonna face them at WrestleDream. The one takeaway I had from this, I don't like Private Party's new music. They had no reason
Really?
They had no reason to change their music. It was fine.
I like it.
Fit them. The whole shots thing, shots. It gets the crowd engaged. I don't know. The music.
They're on their third one because remember the first one's like, oh look, it's Private Party.
Right, but the second version was taking a variant of that. They just kind of, Mickey Ruckus took it and remixed it and made it a little better, right? This one here is just completely different, and it sounds musically, it's good. It's just I don't know. I like when you have that. I like wrestlers having music that is fitting for them and their character, but also good for people watching, listening in the crowd, right? Like look at Johnny Gargano, right? His NXT music he had was some of the best music there's ever been, right? The whole, the Bleeding Heart, and then they redubbed and mixed it up and did all this stuff when he went to the main roster. It just they did that, and so many wrestlers have had that where they've had big music changes, and to me, it just really affects it. Sasha Banks. When Mercedes was Sasha Banks, her original, the music that she had, NXT first run in the main roster, it's the best. And then she Stoop got involved with it, her cousin, and it was okay. And then now she has whatever she has now. To me, as the audiophile of the group, it bothers me because I don't know why they changed their music. And that's my soapbox, and I'm going to get off of it now. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm excited. I'm assuming we'll see them and Bucks at WrestleDream. That'll be good.
Do you think that they'll? I have a feeling they might actually win that too.
Nah.
I don't think so because Jack Perry's definitely retaining against Shibata. And I think they're going to keep the Elite having those titles for a while, and they're all going to lose them around the same time. It's usually how those things play out.
I could see that.
Again, that doesn't do any disservice to your tag department. Again.
Yeah. At least it's a new matchup.
Yeah. And plus there's only one team on this division that can take that belt. Those belts. Only one. The Outrunners. That's it. Mark my words, man. Push them to the fucking moon.
If only. If only.
That would be such a big moment. Even if they only hold the titles for a week, they somehow dethrone the Bucks.
That'd be better. That'd even be better. Literally. Go on.
It'd be like Zack Ryder winning the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania and losing it the next night.
That happened with 1, 2, 3 Kid and Bob Holly. They won the title tournaments. And then just lost the Smoking Guns the next night. Like, give me an underdog team pulling it off. They're at their best for one night, and then they just go back to the bottom of the card the next night. Good story.
Dude, but the Outrunners are so great. Their gimmick is so great, and they are so over. It hurts.
But I think they're better as losers. Like, I think that makes the whole gimmick is that they don't really ever beat anybody.
But they, yeah, you're right though.
I mean, that kind of is the Zack Ryder thing, though.
Yeah.
So you give them a shot. They out of nowhere win the titles, and then 4 nights later on Dynamite they lose them again. Perfect.
All right, gentlemen, it is main event time, and this is title for title, but Okada's is only up in the first 20 minutes.
I loved that. Not gonna lie.
Well, you already knew that he wasn't going to lose it. Like, that was the thing.
100%.
Like, okay, he's not losing it.
They wouldn't keep talking about that if that was even a possibility.
I know. It's like, thanks for telegraphing, foreshadowing.
Here's your sign.
All right, gentlemen.
Great. I love that it sticks with the rules of the Continental title, and it also, if you don't have a stipulation like that, you just expect there's a non-finish because neither of those guys are walking away with both belts. It just didn't happen tonight.
No.
So it was a fun way to make the back half of the match a little bit less predictable. Not that you ever thought Danielson was going to lose, but
I think I take a different view on it. I think it's a fun way to make the first 20 minutes of that so much more interesting, right? Because you know as soon as it's happening, well, it's going over 20 minutes. I know that. So why should I care about this first 20 minutes? Okada made you care. Right? The whole prevent defense he played on everything and the way they were selling stuff. That man. Then, yes, I feel like I still agree with what I said last week. I think Moxley's retiring Danielson a week from Saturday. But I can fully see them going to Japan with that. If they go to Japan with that, I see the person maybe who would retire him who's not named Jon Moxley. No. Potential.
Moxley's the one.
Absolutely. That's why it's happening at WrestleDream.
No.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's happening at WrestleDream. It depends, though.
Are you Tokyo Dome as well? Is that what you're on that train?
I think it's probably going to the Tokyo Dome, but I think it largely hinges on whether or not they think they're going to get Kenny Omega back by then. Because I don't think Danielson gets retired if it's in the realm. Like, it could be a thing where Omega, like, they legitimately, he's like, it could be years, it could be never, and in that case, you pivot, but I think if they have a good sense that they might have Omega back before the end of the year, I don't think you retire Danielson before getting a Danielson Omega match with a finish.
Okay.
I dig that. Yeah, I mean, and Omega's been training. I don't know if you saw the videos. He was over in Japan training with Kota Ibushi, who is AEW signed, but hasn't been in AEW in over a year. They could have really used him about this time last year, but he was hurt, so he's healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Like I
man.
said,
Like,
I think
Well, we don't know how healthy
Yeah.
Omega is. He may be healthy for life, right? In general, professional wrestling though, who knows?
he did wrestling training with Ibushi. Like, they have video of
Yeah,
it. So
I would
don't know.
imagine if he's getting in the ring and working out, we're probably on the horizon of a comeback. And I think if that's the case, then you're getting at least one more Danielson Omega match.
Yeah. Because last
Which would
one was
make
just a
more
draw.
sense why they would do Okada Danielson 3 out of almost nowhere on a random Dynamite, even though it is your 5-year anniversary. But that makes me think more that they're pretty sure they're getting the Omega match on this.
Plus, you still do have Full Gear before Tokyo Dome.
And World's End.
Oh yeah, they do have that, don't they?
Mm-hmm. So I do have to pose this question about this match, gentlemen. Pay-per-view quality?
The one from tonight?
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's 33 minutes long.
I mean,
So,
I wouldn't
it's a
be
long
sad.
match.
I wouldn't be sad if I saw it on a pay-per-view. I don't think it was set up to be a pay-per-view quality, just all-time barn burner, though.
Yeah.
And it didn't need to be.
I agree. I just know some people online are like, "Oh, that match wasn't as good as I expected." It's like, dude, it's a TV match. Like,
well,
it was solid, and the storytelling was awesome. What do you want?
Just because you have Okada Danielson doesn't mean it needs to be like the greatest thing ever. Go back to the beginning of the show. Ricochet Ospreay, was that a pay-per-view match? The one we saw tonight, not just the two of them in general.
No.
No.
Wasn't supposed to be.
No. Because if those two are on a pay-per-view, you would have, like, it would have been like full hard on for the entire 25 minutes.
Yeah. 28 minutes of flipping. No. So after the match, gentlemen, though, we did have the members of the gang. I don't know what else to call them. The Moxley gang come and cost Okada. So Okada was pissed. So I kind of enjoyed that little piece because I feel like that's gonna come back to play in the near future.
I'm glad they haven't forgotten about the whole Okada Claudio part of this angle too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Claudio and Pac go into the ring. They pick up Danielson. Danielson finally starts coming to, starting freaking out because here comes Moxley, and it's like, dude, this isn't about me. This isn't about me. This is bigger than me. I'm doing something that I'm the only one who can do this because I'm the only one who can, or whatever. Like, I forgot what he said exactly, but essentially he is 100% saying there's somebody pulling the strings. And even Excalibur goes, who's the one who's making Moxley
they were a
do
little
this?
on the nose with it.
I mean, what he said technically wasn't that, but then Excalibur's comment, because he said that if it was up to me, I would have done this time ago, was the only thing that he hinted at, that it wasn't his choice, because he was just saying this is what has to be done. It's kind of that greater good scenario thing, that we talked about after Grand Slam last week, right? It's not a person, it's just the craziness, the greater good that needs to happen, whatever, right? But then, so you think is Shane O'Mac back on the table?
Yes.
Austin?
I don't think he was ever necessarily off the table.
We just put him on the sidebar.
I just really hope he's not. I still maintain, absolutely bring him in, help him run the office and all that. Like, very good businessman, very knowledgeable in making pro wrestling good and running a good pro wrestling business. I don't want to see him as an on-screen character.
I would like it if it's just this, vaporware ether nothingness that is controlling, right? It's somebody, it's something. It may be Shane O'Mac, but it's never actually fully admitted to by Moxley or the people in front of the camera. I like the mystery behind that more. If they're going to have somebody pulling the strings, like Excalibur said, I almost don't want it to be a face, like the faceless man sort of thing, right? I'm going all like Mass Effect on you here. I'm just thinking, I like that idea more.
Like the anonymous Raw general manager.
Okay, maybe not that faceless man, but you know what I mean.
I mean, you're kind of saying it.
Don't look behind the curtain, sort of bit, right?
I think that works for a while, but I don't think you need that up without eventually paying it off.
I think that you've gone down the path too far now with the way that this promo transpired and what it has to be somebody now. I like the idea of it just being the craziness of Moxley, right? Whatever.
Yeah, I would love it if it didn't end up actually, like, they never set it up that actually is somebody. It's just Mox is just legitimately insane. Like, I'm here for that as well.
That's just. So, Jamie, when do we get Shane O'Mac if we get him on camera?
WrestleDream.
I think it's WrestleDream. Yeah. Well, WrestleDream's only a week and a half away, ladies and gentlemen. Luckily
Not even 2 weeks.
Not even 2 weeks. And that belt that right now is hanging over Jamie's head will be back on the line. We need to wrestle it away from him. Speaking of which, quick programming note. Next week, Dynamite's on Tuesday, okay? It's on later on Tuesday because hockey starts next week. Yes.
Yeah.
Got kickoff game on Tuesday, and then TBS got a full slate of games going on Wednesday. Not the Blues, unfortunately. Nobody knows what the fuck the Blues are going to do on defense this year, so who cares? We dabbled in the idea, but it's going to be late because it starts at 8 p.m. Central on Tuesday night, right? It's a go-home show. It's going to go late. So we're still going to do Wednesday, but we're going to do it a little bit different. So we're going to do it about an hour or so earlier than what we end up usually coming on. So we're looking at 10 Eastern, 9 o'clock Central is when our show is going to be, okay? Easiest way, if you follow us, is to hit the little bell icon. You'll know when we go live. If you don't follow us, and then hit the bell icon. You'll know when we go live. But next Wednesday, so it's still going to be on Wednesday, our normal night. We'll still talk about Dynamite and everything else out there. It's just going to be a little bit different time. So, anyway. That was Dynamite. Did you guys catch the other big debut this week?
I did not.
On the CW?
NXT on CW. Yes.
With a new logo. They're fourth in like 3 years.
New belts. Okay.
Belts
look really good. You had Shawn and I hate to say this, but Shawn Triple H doing an aging DX intro. It's like, come on, guys. But you open the night with Julia versus Roxanne. And everybody knows my feelings, but so good to see Julia come over. Yes, it's in a wrestling city. It's in Chicago. I understand all this, right? They've been doing it right. I think the setup for her, but to see her, I think she's going to fit in just fine. Now, will she get lost in the main roster eventually when they move her up? Who knows? But they're doing her right. Everything was good. Did not win. Interfered with by a returning Cora Jade. So it's good to see Cora back. He has some other great stuff that happened throughout the night there. NXT's become really good, right? I really enjoyed it. The main event was Ethan Page defending his NXT title against Trick Williams with CM Punk as your special guest referee, because get that hometown pop, right? Trick wins it, and it's good. NXT is probably as good as it has been since Triple H was last involved with it. So I'm happy with it. Now, you didn't catch it.
Things.
Yeah. Did you catch any of it, Jamie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were able to watch the last hour of it. And then I was able to watch that first match. Julia looked great. Like, the whole, I was very, very, very pleased with everything that they're doing there. NXT's looking really strong right now. Like, it's not what it was, like, back in the day, but that was just a different time. But I really like what they're doing now, for sure. Big fan.
Well, it has come to that time of the week, ladies and gentlemen. So I know we've got. I'm trying not to. We gabbed quite a bit tonight. We're gonna go through this real quick because it is the continuance of fantasy football. God, see, I know I was going to do this. Now my camera's all messed up.
I don't think we need to talk about fantasy football this week.
I think we do. So the humor is palpable that these two gentlemen that we're looking at right here. Sorry, I'm trying to redo my camera and I'm not succeeding very well at it. These two gentlemen put in coming into this season. And if you look at those standings there, you're going to see that, Megan's doing fantastic. So she's the only undefeated person in here. So, shout out to the nemesis that is Megan Faulkner. Okay. And right behind her, it's your boy. Okay. Got another big dub this week. Sitting there in second place. Looking good. On the very bottom, we have two winless teams. And we are looking at those two winless teams on your screen aside from me here. Now, I want to just point out something, okay? Especially when I look at you, Austin, because you're second to last on the list here. But what's up with this points against going on, okay?
Exactly.
I mean, Jamie, you're not doing much better in that regard. You're getting, 540 here. Let me pull up the big picture so you can see a little bit better on the bigger numbers there. But my God, man. 594 points against?
and if you look at the points for, I have scored more points than division leaders you and Megan. I've scored the fourth most points in the league. Yet here I sit at 0-4.
Your opponents combined would be number one in points for.
Yeah. It has been rough, but everyone makes the playoffs. I'm just setting up for that Outrunners tag run of our fantasy football league.
Everybody does make
go 0 for whatever in the regular season, then I'm gonna go on a run in the playoffs and still win this thing.
Everybody does make the playoffs. I mean, you just ran into a buzzsaw this week. Curtis just flat out. First of all, big props to Curtis for going with the Jaden Daniels. Okay, I called him going into the draft. I'm like, this guy's going to be a great quarterback in the future. I didn't know it was going to come in the first 3 weeks of his rookie season, but hey,
Sure did. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and there's talk that Washington might be, getting in the Devontae Adams kind of trade. I don't think they need him. I don't think they need him. I think the Jets are probably going to end up with his ass, but or the Chiefs. Nah, Chiefs won't get him. It doesn't make sense. I mean, there's no way.
The Chiefs are actually looking at possibly pulling the trigger on Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper makes more sense. There's no way the Raiders would trade to the Chiefs, even though it doesn't really matter.
Oh,
but
Megan and I had this conversation, and I was like, okay, we'll trade them to Buffalo because they'll trade with us.
Yeah, they would. But other than that, we had Jamie yeah.
Finally got blown out, so it made me happy. I was like, at least I got blown out.
I mean, Lamar was a good move, though, for you. I'll give you that. Yeah, Lamar was a good move.
Yeah, Aaron Jones did great. That's
How
it.
about
That was
shout
it.
how about shout out to one Miss Heidi Howitzer, looking
Yeah, she
strong.
drafted all Jets and Bears and has 2 more wins tonight. What the hell is going on?
What is going on?
It's craziness. This was the game to watch because this kept going down to the end because each of them had one person playing on Monday night. I was a pretty sizable. I just had to have the he had like 4 people going, but Miami's a train wreck, and I just had to have Jared Goff not get like 75 points. So I was actually watching Megan and Chase go at it. Because it came down to one player each on Monday night, and one was in like the early game, and one was in the late game, and it was close. So, another fun week of fantasy football. Like I said, the good news, ladies and gentlemen, is that this whole conundrum about my 2 co-hosts here, both being winless, will be resolved because this coming week they face each other.
We're going to tie.
Unless we tie.
I have seen a tie once in fantasy football. Only once.
That'd be the funniest damn thing of all time.
If you 2 tie and continue to lose, I might shit my pants laughing so hard next week. I'm not going to lie.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point. Like the way this season has gone in this league for me, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a tie.
Same.
It's kind. I mean,
like
it is,
big time thing.
It is kind of committed to the bit, the way we're at now. So
that's all right. We're both gonna go winless in the regular season. We're gonna meet in the finals.
That's probably what's gonna happen. Let's be real. Well, that's been the weekend in fantasy football. That's been the weekend everything here. So, any final thoughts you guys have before we send everybody on home?
Give us Captain Hook.
That's
nothing more. If you're listening,
nothing more needs to be said. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you guys giving us some of your time. We'll be back next week. Same bat channel, but a little bit different time. 10 Eastern, 9 Central. Come join us next week where we talk about the go home for and preview of WrestleDream. Jamie, take us home.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not down with Total Spotfest, I got 5 words for you. Happy 5th anniversary, bitches.
See you next week, guys.
Peace.
Later.